by Studio Wendy at Scrapbook Graphics. Today we're looking at the Embellisher 4 actions. We have the edger, the explosion, and the triangle. Included in your download is a PDF that goes through all of the supplies that you'll need for each of the actions. The edger is looking for a set of leaves, a ribbon, a flower, a single leaf, and 2 more flowers. The explosion is a great big canvas filled with lots of elements sprinkled about, along with one huge focal embellishment like a doll or a big tree or something like that. It's more meant for an art journal style layout, and that is looking for a focal point embellishment, a stamp, word art, paper strip, stitches, and then 20 sprinkled elements along with 3 word strips or paper strips. The triangle action will create a visual triangle using a flower, a button, a banner, stitches, a paper element, a scrap, a stamp, and a brad or gem. And this one is special in that it includes a photo spot to clip your photo to. So those are the actions that come in the set. Let's pop into Photoshop and see how they work. Okay, so here are the 3 actions loaded into Photoshop. Let's go ahead and select the first one and press play. I do like to usually pre-plan my elements a little bit ahead of time, so I recommend that if you are wanting to pull things from multiple kits or something like that, that you pull them into one single location before you get started. Otherwise, you can always, if you're a kit scrapper, just make do with what you find in the kit that you are using. So I'm going to press play. And I'm reminded about the items that I need to choose and the order I need to choose them in. But you'll see here when we press continue and the open dialog comes up, the new file document back here where the element will be placed, in the title of the layout, it tells us what we're looking for. So in this case, I know that I need a flower. So I can scroll down here and look for, there we go. Let's choose this one. When the element comes up on the screen, you want to go ahead and resize it to mostly fill the box as best as possible. You may want to keep an eye on the size up here that you're not over enlarging it too much. Anything over 100% will start to lose a little bit of quality. You can get away with a little bit more than that, but you don't want to overdo it. So let's just go about there. Now we're prompted for a button. It doesn't have to literally be a button, but you're looking for something about that size that's going to be layered into the cluster here. So let's see what we have. Maybe we'll use the star. If the element goes off of the screen, you can just press Command or Control plus to zoom in, and then Command Option or Control Alt minus to zoom out. And that will allow you to grab those resize handles and press Enter. Then we're asked for a gem or a button again, and this is for something tiny. Let's see what we have here. Let's just go ahead and use this bird. The other thing you can do is use the width and height boxes up here at the top of the toolbar and type in a much smaller number, and that will resize it down as well. Now it's looking for a paper strip, and we had some torn paper here at the end. Let's see. You can also get an idea of the size of or the shape of the object that we're looking at by looking at that window. So I'll go ahead and choose this one. Then for the banner, we can use a banner, we can use a ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and choose these lights. And then stitches. Let's see if we have any stitches in here. Yep, we do. Let's go with this here. And again, let's just size it up. A stamp. I'm going to use the glitter. Here we're looking for some kind of scrap. Let's go with a tag. Okay. When the action is complete, we will be left here with the canvas filled with all of our items, and each layer is left on its own so that we can go ahead and reposition things as we see fit. Perhaps we want to make things a little smaller, move them around. We might want to change the order of the items. And maybe in this case, I don't like the birds there and I would rather use something different. I can turn them off and just rework them if I want to. This one I may drag a little bit further onto the page. So we can do that. I might actually want to replicate that star over here on this side instead. So we can do that. We can also go ahead and change the drop shadows to any style that we might have in our stash here. We might want to increase the drop shadow on a particular layer. So all that is left available for you to manipulate. And then this particular one comes with a clipping layer, so you can place your photo in there. And then it's just a matter of dragging in a background paper on this particular layout, and you can be all done with this page. That is the triangle. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these layers and run the edger. The edger wants some papers first, and it's going to auto position the papers. And it usually works best if you get some papers with some real contrast to them. So let's start out with a green one. And then maybe I'll go with this one. And then a nice bright red on top. Okay, and now we'll start choosing our elements for this particular cluster. We need leaves, a ribbon, a flower, a leaf, and 2 more flowers. I'm using Studio Courtney's Believe kit. So let's scroll down here and see. We may not have a leaf in this kit, but I do have a Christmas tree. That might work. So I'll resize that. Now we're looking for a string or a ribbon. Let's go with the candy cane string. Now, if you have a string that is a different shape, you can always try to rotate it to get it to better fit the space here. And this one's just unique, so just do your best to place it. You can always resize it later. Now we're looking for a flower. Let's go with the presents instead of the leaf here. So you can make lots of substitutions. You don't have to be literal in your choices. All right, now this particular action is done, and I can make some changes here. If I want to move that string up, I can, and maybe I'll move these up higher. And on that Christmas tree, I might turn one of them off in this case and just go with one tree positioned out here. I can even rotate it out to tuck behind if I want to. And this cluster is done. Oh, I can also, if I want, rotate these papers now that they're on here. And if I decide that I didn't like a particular paper, it's easy to drag and drop a new one in and clip it to this layer by holding in the Alt or Option key and clicking between the layers to create a clipping mask. So that is the edger action. And let's go ahead and delete all of those and run the explosion. The explosion is a massive action that uses a ton of elements. And some will work better than others, but the great thing is you can just play around with it. So we're going to be asked for a focal embellishment first, and this is meant to be a large doll. You can use, we could use the elf, the Santa. In this case, I'm going to grab this Santa here. Next, we're looking for a stamp, and this is something for the background. I'm going to go ahead and use some of the glitter. I'm rotating it so that it fits this angle better. Next up is a big piece of word art. And there's some great word art in this kit, so let's come to the back. Next up is a strip of paper. And again, this one's going to need to be rotated to fit. Some stitches. There were definitely some stitches in this kit. Let's use these big giant ones. Okay, now we're going to start with some embellishments. So we're going to just be sprinkling around a bunch of flowers. Really anything in the kit will work. What you want to do is just kind of keep an eye on the shape that you're being prompted for as you go along to get something that will work best. Some of these elements will be sprinkled around and used multiple times as they are being placed. Okay, the action is now complete, and now we can work on tweaking the layout just a little bit. So we can adjust the placement of some of these items if we want to kind of cluster them up a little bit more. We can do that, and we can even change the order. For example, since these are more stamp-like pieces instead of elements, I can go ahead and send them to the back and move them around. And so now comes the fun part where we can just arrange it a little bit better based on the types of elements that we chose. So one thing you can do is toggle on the auto select. If it's off, you have to select your elements over here on the layers panel to get to them. If you turn it on, you'll be able to click on an object and move it directly. And so that is something that can be really handy when you're working in this particular kind of mode here. So you can work on reclustering those a little bit as you see fit. There's a good sample layout in the printout that shows what one of these can look like when it is done really well. So this is the explosion, and I hope you have fun with the Embellisher 4 actions, and I will see you next time.